in a movie when the characters are underwater. You hold your breath as long as the characters are underwater too.
Definitely. Harry Potter, when he was in the lake.
Yeah.
You're like, this is impossible.
It was impossible.
It is impossible.
I'll be dead.
Yeah, I did it during Finding Nemo and I died.
Yeah.
Does that count? Because they weren't holding their breath.
They're breathing
I
in the
just
water.
do that joke every time.
But don't you do it in reverse? Like if
What do you
they're
mean?
out of the water? Because they were out of water a few seconds.
Yeah.
You
And
should-
that's when they can't breathe.
Hey, shut up.
You
I'm
just
not a
got-
fish.
You just got logicked.
Don't lawyer me. Anyways.
Alright.
Welcome to Cadmium Dread.
With your hosts, Mimi and Josh, and joining us today is, first and foremost, a friend. Secondly, a coworker.
What a preamble.
We all met at Glue, and his name is Franklin Lay.
Hey everyone.
Franklin the Builder.
The Brushsmith?
The Brushsmith.
The
The
Handyman.
handyman.
All the
and-
titles we gave him right
and
before
the
recording.
turtle.
And the
Turtle. I could count by twos and tie my shoes.
Oh my god. Let's not go down this route because I don't know Franklin the Turtle well enough to... Oh no, my mic.
You're right.
Why?
Oh no, I don't know what happened to that one.
It's okay.
Gonna have to
It's 'cause it's
decommission
mine.
it.
At least we could still hear you.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's okay.
we're good.
I'm like so loud the mic could literally be pointed the other way and I'm still gonna be louder than everybody else.
No, you're clear. At least
Mhm.
I'm more of a mumbler, and my enunciations are usually terrible.
It's okay. Mumbling is in, right? Mumble
Mumble
rap?
rapping? Yeah. I mean, I got clout, so.
Got clout.
Nah.
I love that word though.
I know. I just learned it recently. I was like, it means influence and following.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I have
Oh.
clout.
Yeah, see, I was talking about my art clout earlier. and
I have
was
no
like,
art clout.
Yeah, I don't either. I'm trying to build it.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
feel like you have more art clout than either of us, maybe.
I do think so.
Well, my art clout. Well, I don't want to call them art clout because there's two separate groups. There's the traditional sort of Instagram followers and the digital ones.
Yeah.
And,
And
you
then
mean
the-
traditional art and digital art.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I separate those two.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But the fact that you have two.
Oh, there's overlap though. Some people do like both.
Okay.
But you also like have a breadth of work, and like it's not like your Instagram is very sparse or whatever. Yeah,
I try.
you're
Yeah.
consistent.
Yeah, I've
Yeah.
been consistent before, and nowadays I've been not as consistent because I realized clout is not life, and friends are
Yeah.
more important.
Ball is life.
Ball is life in Catan.
Katana's life.
Oh,
There's a an episode title.
Katana's life. Oh man,
Yes, we played some Catan at work. Josh was
No,
not there
not me.
for
I'm-
it.
he's passing over.
I was too Jewish.
It's gefilte fish.
Dude, it's good.
And also, in case anyone didn't know, like how I didn't know, gefilte
Oh.
fish is not a species of fish.
Oh yeah, it's a fish loaf, right?
Gefilte fish does not have families. They don't swim up the river to lay eggs.
I keep picturing it's an ancient like species of fish. I don't know why.
Like prehistoric.
Like there's armor plating on this fish.
Oh, dude, that'd be awesome. Well, no, it's a loaf of like 3 different fish of your choosing,
Oh.
just to educate the listeners. I
Okay,
feel
good
like-
to know.
yeah.
So if I'm ever on the airplane and I'm like, I want some gefilte fish.
Yeah, but you gotta say it like Chris Tucker.
Gefilte fish.
Gefilte fish. That's because that's what I call it nowadays. Thanks to was it Rush Hour 2?
Yeah, Rush Hour. I think it was the first one
Might have
at
been
the end
first one.
when they were about to travel.
Welcome to
back.
our Rush Hour podcast.
Oh yeah, Rush Hour 4 is coming out.
Fuck me. All right, let's get off this topic.
Okay. Well,
Next.
Franklin, I feel like, is kind of spiritually akin to Dylan, one of our other guests. You guys,
It's true.
yeah, both like
In my mind, I refer to either of you as real artists.
kind of because
Yeah.
I mean, you work traditionally, you work digitally, and like you take part in like those extracurricular art activities, like character design challenge, and then it was like you guys both did this really cool thing at work where you invited us to like do a little sketch swap where we all do a sketch and then we trade it off and then we finish it, like we paint it and render it.
Yeah.
And that was really cool.
Oh yeah, that was a great topic. The first one we did was flowers, picked by Mimi,
Yeah.
and I got to paint Mimi's sketch,
Yeah.
which I was like, oh my god, this is amazing.
That was cool. Yeah. And I painted gungs, but yeah, we'll post it. We'll post them all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm taking part in this one. I
Mhm.
missed out on the last one. I didn't know that was the first one. I thought
I didn't know
guys
it was
have been.
I didn't know it was the first one.
No,
either.
it was the first one. It was me and Dylan. We're talking about it, and we're just like,
See, you guys have so much art clout
Hmm.
that I just I
Yeah.
assumed like this was something you've always been doing.
Yeah,
and
you're very cloutful.
It's more like we want to do more collaboration and just like encouraging, just building sort of like more of an exercise for us to like keep creating and just making this process more interesting versus like if you're just doing it by yourself, everything's like more fun with the groups.
Yeah,
Especially,
and
like,
also
yeah.
like
Mhm.
really, it not forces you, but encourages you to go through like the full exercise, like finishing it and stuff
Yes.
like that. Like
Yeah.
I can't count how much stuff I just start and abandon because nobody knows that I even started it, so I don't want to. I'm too lazy.
I feel
So-
obligated to finish a painting.
Well,
Like, I'm like, someone gave me the sketch.
that's why
they work so
yeah,
hard. on it.
exactly.
Mhm.
I thought you meant like on your own.
Well,
but
I try.
Yeah. that's
a-
why you have
yeah.
clout.
Yeah.
Can we get a clout count going?
It's
Oh,
gonna
no.
happen. I know. When I hear that word, I just think of what was that book? Angels in America, because we were forced to read that in college, and then we watched the
Yeah,
movie.
But what about it?
There's a whole thing about like I forget the name of the character or the guy who played it.
I had to do a monologue from that.
Well, he just uses the word cloud a lot. Yeah. Well, let's not talk about like, the angels with the 8 vaginas and 8 penises or whatever.
Okay.
Man, I don't remember anything from that.
It's,
I don't think
uh,
I studied that in college at all. No.
So it's pretty wild.
No, actually, I did not go to art school for college.
Mhm.
Just getting into my background, I went to UC San Diego for college
Mm.
to study bioengineering, biotech.
Damn, like smart major.
But
Smart
were
man.
you always into art?
I've always been into art, and then my parents has always known me as like a doodler, and they, you know, how your parents always say like, oh yeah, you were always creative as a little kid,
Mhm.
and they were just like, you've been drawing since 3 years old. I'm like, I don't know, I don't have any memories of that,
Yeah.
but I guess I'll believe you. But I've always been super into just drawing and just doodling and creating and taking things apart and just putting it together. Hence the handyman part, I guess.
Yeah.
And I just like figuring out how things work, and that was sort of just what led me into engineering, because engineering is problem solving.
Yeah.
And eventually, I kind of fought with it. I'm like, do I want to be stuck in a lab for the rest of my life, or do I want to create art? And that sounded way more enticing, and I didn't know what kind of artist I wanted to be, and there were just so many like reinforcements of, as an Asian kid with strict Chinese parents, they're like, no, artists starve. Don't be an artist. I'm like, oh, they were so right. But it was fun because I've always like just done art, but I never pursued it as a career. And then until I had to make that choice, which was really difficult.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was wondering, like, what did your art life look like up until that point? Like, what were you doing?
I was just drawing, and that was it. I hated coloring as a kid.
hmm
Crayons, markers, and stuff. I'm like, get that shit away from me. And it was just more pencils and pen, and just drawing and copying Mega Mans and
Yeah.
Dragon Ball Z,
Yeah.
Power Rangers, Ninja Turtles, all that stuff. So like growing up, it's just like it was funny because copying is a form of learning.
Yeah.
But that's all we did as kids, and then eventually, you started inventing your own stuff. And before Beast Wars came out, I was drawing like Transformer stuff, but with animals. And then Beast Wars came out.
So you're
You- you
you're saying that they
created-
stole your idea?
No, they just came up with the same idea, but did it better.
No, they stole.
They
You
started.
should go after them. Yeah.
As a kid, I'm like, well, I drew like a giant T-Rex that transforms into a mech, a gorilla transforms into a mech. I didn't name them or anything, but then
Okay.
like eventually Beast Wars came out. I'm like, holy shit, that's
Yeah.
the
They
same
had
thing
a
I did.
T-Rex. They had a gorilla.
Yeah.
Did that ever do you ever look back
Optimus
and
Primal.
it-
Sorry, I just had to say it.
does it ever give you a sense of validation? Like, I have good ideas.
As a kid, I guess, but then like as you grow up and you learn that ideas are a dime a dozen, it's just about executing them and executing them well,
Mhm.
and actually like going forth with it. Like you could think
Yeah.
of a bajillion ideas right
Yeah.
now,
Mhm.
but if we don't do anything about it, it's just sitting there.
Mhm.
Ideas are a dime a dozen. Take that. I'm just trying to think. Like, I feel like you would always get when I'm like freelancing or whatever. Like, people like wanting to do a Kickstarter with their great idea.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, it's nice that you have a cool idea, but I see nothing here.
Yeah, like they always come up with great ideas. I used to like before I was like researching on trying to get into the concept art industry. I was like, oh, maybe it's a good idea if I join up with some indie like team that are trying to form and create an indie game, and everyone's trying to pitch ideas, and basically they want free labor from artists,
Oh, yeah.
which sucks.
Oh, yeah.
Never do that.
I was part of that mistake
Yeah.
before, yeah.
So, like, they would just pitch you, like, this is the next best thing. This is next gen.
Yeah.
We're going to create some new game that no one has ever seen before.
We're going to compete with AAA titles.
Exactly.
Yeah. Run as fast as you can if you hear that.
Yeah, we've learned from our mistakes.
Yeah.
Never do that.
How did you even figure out that there was a concept art world?
Oh, so on my last year of college, and me being a terrible college student and not wanting to do this anymore, I was trying to figure out an end game for me in terms of how do I get into art. Before I wanted to be an architect, and I never got into architecture in college. And then I thought, well, shoot, I guess I'll be a scientist. And so I did 4 years of that, and actually I dropped out. I'm a college dropout.
Hell yeah.
Hey,
4 years of science, though, that's a lot. You
Yeah,
got a lot
yeah.
of knowledge in there.
it was a lot of engineering, some organic chemistry, physical chemistry, and a lot of stuff. I was like, oh, too much. And at the end of it, I just couldn't stand it anymore. But the power of like that grabs hold over you of not wanting to disappoint your parents was too great until like it just split me apart. And I figured, well, I won't tell them I dropped out yet, but I'll try to figure out a way out of this. And I started exploring different majors and stuff like psychology or whatever, but that didn't work out because I'm like, wait, I don't want to be a psychologist either. And I thought about, like everyone else, maybe tattooing might be a great idea.
Yeah.
So many of our guests.
Which is a terrible idea because I don't think I'll make a great tattoo artist.
You don't?
No, I've just recently got my sleeve tattoo, and I'm like, there is no way I could do this
I
right
guess.
away.
Yeah, I can see that.
Studying like
Yeah.
the human body and how it
Mhm.
forms and turning that into a canvas is difficult.
That's, yeah.
I designed a tattoo.
Science to itself.
Yeah, I designed a tattoo for one of my college roommates because they're like, "Oh, you do art? Can you design a tattoo?" I'm like, sure." But back then I didn't know anything, so I'm like, "Oh, could you make me a cross with like says Jesus saves or something?" I'm like, "All right." So I drew him a cross that's sort of like looking upwards with that perspective that
Uh-huh.
looks epic, like
Yeah.
yeah. And then I wrote in some font that I made up, and he brought it to the tattoo artist, and the tattoo artist said, "I can't use this font. Doesn't work." I'm just like, I felt slightly offended, but I didn't know why. And he came back with his tattoo, which is similar to what I designed, but with a different font. And then I knew that as a tattoo artist, there's some certain limitations and technical aspects that I probably don't grasp yet.
Yeah.
And I don't think I could be that. Like, I had to study a lot.
Mhm.
And I don't know if I had time to, like, get into that.
Yeah,
then,
yeah. I mean, it is definitely a commitment. Yeah.
No, I respect
to-
them a ton. And every time nowadays, like, if anyone asks me, "Hey, can you design a tattoo for me?" I'm like, "No, you should find a really good tattoo artist."
Yes, me too.
That's number one advice.
Mm-hmm.
Find a really good artist.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I
And-
just wanted to say, because I do know that I've said this, and a lot of guests or other guests have also said that we want to become tattooed artists, but I do want to say that we understand it's not easy, and it's not just like, oh, I'm gonna be one. It's, yeah, we understand that, like, it's a whole commitment, and like, you gotta start from the bottom, you gotta learn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You start from the basics.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then after that dream shattered, I was just like, maybe I could just work a 9-to-5 job and just do graffiti on the side to satisfy my creative side.
Wow.
So I tried to get into graffiti, and I had like a black book, sketchbook, and then started doing like letterings, doing my basic block letters, and going out and doing not so legal stuff. But I realized that, wait a second, I don't want to be breaking the law here anymore. I did it for like about a few months, and I'm like, I am terrible at this too. Let's move on to something else. And then I stumbled upon conceptart.org. And that's where I started my journey as an artist to get into the industry, the entertainment industry. And it was a breakthrough because I didn't know that you can actually, there's a job where you have to design things that go into to video games, to movies, to all these things. I'm like, oh yeah, it makes a lot more sense now.
Yeah. Somebody's got to come up with those ideas.
Exactly. How else are you going to steal like Optimus Prime.
Yeah. You don't steal it from children's sketchbooks.
No.
Unless you do, in Franklin's case.
Yeah. I didn't copyright it. My bad.
Yeah.
Now you know.
The more you know.
The more you know. Copyright.
Yeah. Yeah.
The less popular version of that show.
But yeah, conceptart.org changed, like, it was, I think around 2004 is when I kind of discovered it and started getting into it. And it opened, like, in the forums, it was super helpful. They had, like, different categories, like sketchbook, challenges, finished pieces, and etc. There was, like, also job posting and stuff. And you start off with a sketchbook to, like, get your stuff out there for people to look at online. And these are all these professionals that would just look over your work, and also all people who are going on their artistic journey along with you. They sort of just follow you and just like, yeah, you comment on their stuff and they comment on your stuff, and you give each other critiques. And that's sort of that mentality of like helping each other out as an artist community really resonated with me, since I didn't have any art friends. All my friends were engineering friends, science friends, and they're cool. But when I'm like drawing and stuff, they're just like, oh, it's so great. I'm like, no, it's not.
Do you find that those friends like different brains than artists?
It's interesting because like I'm coming from both worlds, and
You're the missing link.
You have both brains.
I'm the bridge. Yeah. AKA the handyman.
Franklin the bridge.
So many titles.
Oh, okay. But it was for us it was problem solving. So I grew up as a problem solver, and I had to switch mindsets from solving problems like physically and whatnot into like creative problem solving. And creative problem solving is great. It's very similar to what we do in like just problem solving, finding out solutions. Our mentality on creative problem solving, I feel like it's fresher, it's newer, and you get to take more like alternative routes versus in like problem solving in if you're solving for math problems or like engineering problems and structural stuff. You have like certain equations and certain boundaries and restrictions on that, versus creative problem solving, I think there's more wiggle room. And it was difficult at first as an artist to like try to transfer it over to the creative problem solving side, but eventually I got the training I needed further down the line to like figure out how to like creatively solve problems while maintaining structure too. But yeah, conceptart.org helped me along that journey to get my foot in first, and pointed me in the right directions to exactly what you need to get into an industry, which is a damn good portfolio.
Yeah.
And I got super lucky because when I got my portfolio ready, I failed multiple times before I got my portfolio ready. But once I got it ready...
What do you mean you failed?
Oh, well, I tried putting my stuff out there. It was terrible. I never want to look at it again. I'll look at it once in a while to like see like, oh, how far I come. But back then I used to think like, oh yeah, I'm ready for the industry. And then I'll put myself out there, apply to jobs, and get shut down or no replies. Yes. And you're just like, well, back to square one. And you had to do it all over again. So I did that like 2-3 times, thinking like within like 2-3 times prepping my portfolio every few months to apply to jobs and getting rejected. So getting rejected over and over again is very disheartening, and it just, I don't know, it was hard. I'm sure Mimi, you talked about it in your first podcast, and it was like, yeah, it's devastating. And
same here.
Yeah, but then conceptart.org trained you to like take critiques. So I took it as a critique on myself, my own work, to, hey, you just gotta get better, get good enough for the industry to like hire you. And eventually I got into the industry through internship with Capcom. And yeah, thanks to Henry Ho. And
nice.
So,
shout out.
Yeah. Yeah. He was my old middle school friend, and
whoa, I didn't know that.
Yeah, we reconnected again on Facebook. Thank you, Facebook.
Shout out.
Yeah. And he realized that I was also trying to do art, and he was already, in progress of doing this stuff. And he said, hey, I'm interning at Capcom. Did you want an internship? I'm like, well, yeah.
Yeah.
Of course. Yeah. And yeah, it was an unpaid internship, but it was great to like get my foot into the door and just throw Capcom on my resume. And that's huge. And right when that happened, I think social gaming and mobile gaming was picking up. So like that was when Zynga was at its highest highs, creating Farmville, creating like a bunch of different social games on Facebook, and they were hiring everybody, and so everyone wanted to be like them, and a lot of companies opened up. It was like a big boom of like mobile gaming, social gaming.
Yeah.
And eventually I got into one of these startups, and yeah, that sort of just like went from there. And once you get in for the door, it's a little easier, but it's not entirely easy.
Yeah.
You still have to like maintain a good portfolio. You still have to maintain good work, and you got to be employable. You have to update your skills constantly.
But at least like you get out of that loop of like, you don't have enough experience, we can't hire you.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But I need experience.
It is like a first hurdle that
Yeah.
new artists are gonna have to always go through.
Yeah, and then a lot of new artists, like, it helps to know people. Networking, super important.
Yeah.
And it also helps to have a good portfolio. So having those two elements plus luck equals employment.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
That's the that's the equation.
And profit.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm curious. What do you think about like people usually set like a hard rule of like, do not take unpaid internships?
I think I mean, yeah, but when it's somewhere like Capcom or something like big name like that, I think it does more good than bad. Like doing unpaid work for some no name startup or like
Some
Kickstarter
indie
game
yeah.
thing, that's different.
Yeah.
Doing an unpaid internship at Capcom or I don't know, like Square Enix, I don't know, like wherever. I don't think you're gonna get an internship at Square Enix. I don't think they do that, but
I see. Okay.
I don't know.
I wasn't directing it at you guys. I don't think you're gonna get an internship.
Yeah, I was just curious because
But yeah, I feel like that.
Like I got that kind of drilled into my head as a student. They were just like, be careful, like don't take unpaid internships.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on circumstances too.
Yeah, at the discretion of like the situation. I do like think that don't work for free is a very good motto.
Yeah.
But like, hey, you put Capcom on your resume and it helped. So
yeah, I mean, think about it this way: if you can afford to be in an unpaid internship, which I could at that time because I was living at home and it was close enough to where I lived, versus if I was from out of town and taking an unpaid internship to live in that city and somehow pay rent while not getting paid, that's almost impossible.
Yeah. That's some pursuit of happiness shit.
Yeah. I don't know like if that would have worked out. That would have been terrible.
At that situation I wouldn't recommend to anybody, but yeah. If you're in the position that you can survive while doing that, it might help.
Yeah.
To begin with. I mean, once you got your foot in the door, probably don't want to do that anymore.
No more internships. It's also like
more valuable than like doing something like that while you're a student.
Yeah.
Like that'll be much more valuable than whatever you're doing in school.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, nowadays, most companies, at least most big name companies, they do pay their interns, which is pretty standard now.
Yeah, that's good. That's good that the standards have changed.
If they don't, be careful.
Yeah, nowadays, I guess so. I guess I'm like, it's been long enough that I don't know what the deal is.
Yeah, back then, they could get away with it,
Yeah.
but then there's like employment laws and stuff like that that don't allow like that sort of labor anymore. That they started paying their interns and workers' rights and all that stuff.
That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not gonna complain about that.
No.
Being nice to humans is good.
Oh yeah. Empathy. That's very important.
Something that we have to teach our art robot.
Oh God.
Do we want to get into that?
Oh, we could get into that. So we're talking about how AI is going to take over the future in our jobs.
Yeah.
And
which it is.
Yeah, a lot of people are talking about like in the future of like cashiers, they're not going to have jobs because robots are going to take over for that, or like truck drivers and so forth. But we're thinking, well, eventually our jobs as artists.
Yeah. One day, right?
Yeah, one day. There's already robots that can draw a portraiture. And just copy a style.
And we were like looking at that. I don't remember. It was like from Google or something where you could just like draw like little shapes and it basically like
textures, everything.
Yeah, it just makes like environments for you basically.
Yeah, programmers don't even need artists anymore. They're like, hey, let me plug that box into this box, and boom, art's all done.
Yeah, and we were just looking at that and getting depressed, and it's like, yeah, we're just a few steps away.
There has to be some overseer to like go over this.
Oh yeah,
with the AI robots creating their jobs. And their little AI robots being miserable at their desk, creating like paintings and textures.
Yeah, and the important thing we were saying is that those little AI robots have to have the capability of being miserable, because otherwise, how are they going to be like a replacement for us? Like, it's part of the equation. It's part of the what you need to be an artist.
I think a little bit of suffering you need
is,
to like inject into creative process.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
Oh man.
When you learn about all these
we need
artists
to stay on
history,
brand as Cadmium Dread. Suffering is
You guys
part.
are just making me question my existence.
Exactly.
Like, what are we but just AI robots?
That's what Elon Musk says, right?
Yeah. See, a little bit of existential dread never hurt anybody as an artist, and guess what? Programming that into the robots. Existential dread.
I think it's just having a little bit of suffering, which is also a better phrase for it is probably struggling.
Yeah.
As there's artist struggles real.
Yeah.
Right?
So real.
Super real. And then it comes with so many symptoms like just doubt, identity crisis, a bunch of things.
Yeah.
Back then when I was studying in the Atelier, getting back into that. So I did the internship. I got employed by a startup, got acquired by Zynga, and got laid off from Zynga. And got a nice severance pay to pay off my student loans of bioengineering, biotech, which was not art school loan amount, thankfully.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I was able to pay that off in like one go. And then I had extra money left too from my severance pay. And I decided to hey, I need to buckle down and learn my fundamentals. So I tried to hit up Karl Dobsky for Safe House Atelier, which is started by the concept art guys back then. And it was classical training paired with digital painting and just training for the industry. Wow. And at that time, that was like the dream school to get into for me, to learn from the best of the best in the industry. Like Cody Miles, Carlo Ortiz, Wes Burt, all those folks were involved in school. And this atelier was super successful in creating all these great artists coming out who are strong traditionally and strong digitally.
Damn.
Yeah. And unfortunately, while I was applying for it, they were disbanding.
Damn.
Oh, man.
Wait, around when was that?
That was that was 2013, around there. Yeah. 2013, 12 or 13, around there.
That's when it was starting to fall apart.
It was more like Carl had to move to LA, and he was sort of the guy to keep the school together. There's a lot of history about it that I don't know yet, but I was just caught on the end of they're disbanding right when I applied. I saved up enough money to do this.
That sucks.
So he recommended me to Sadie Valeri's atelier, which the rest of the Safe House students who were still studying ongoing over there decided to go to. And James Edmond, aka Jedmo, he took over as lead instructor for that to teach the classical training of classic realism. And I studied under that for 2 years. And just strengthened my fundamentals. And it was just the workout equivalent of strengthening your core. Just being strong on that end. And then branching out from there and breaking the rules. So you got to learn them first, and then you break them. And it was a great experience because having 2 months devoted to art, being a person who's never been to art school, was eye-opening for me. I never had any art friends. I finally got to meet art friends in real life, not online anymore. Yeah.
Was this a physical school?
Yeah, it was here in San Francisco.
Really?
Yeah.
Fuck, I wish I had known about that stuff. That was right around when I was wasting my time in Santa Cruz. If I had just gone to that instead, whatever.
So you think about all the schools, right? These training vocational schools for programming, right?
Yeah.
That's popping all over the Bay Area right now. Mm-hmm. Atelier is the art equivalent of that. And you're just when we go into school, there's no there's class periods or whatever. You just go in, you study at your pace, and they give you these exercises to do, and you complete them, and you move on to the next level and then the next. So everyone starts off with block in to cast drawing. So you set up a little cast of David's eye or any of these things, and you set lighting to it. And then there's a light source, there's shadow, render the shit out of it, make it as perfect as you can. And then someone will come by who's better than you by a lot and tell you that there's still some more to do. Even though you thought that was it, that was the best that you can do, but they show you the way of like, well, there's this, like the shadow's too dark and so forth. Like the transition between shadow and light, you can work on it to smooth it out. And just like nitpicking every little thing that you need to work on was very helpful to like move on to the next step versus like figuring out yourself, which is what I was doing before being self-taught, just following online forums and like tutorials.
Yeah.
So having that background was like super helpful of being just like training. I hate this phrase because everyone uses it to a sarcastic way, but training your eye to be like an artist and seeing things and just being able to like discern between like, all right, what I need to work on. What are these problems? Back to creative problem solving. What are these problems that I see in my drawings that I could solve? Is it too dark? Is it too light? Is it too warm, too cool, and so forth?
Yeah, all those things I feel like didn't even really click for me until recently. So there you go. I went to art school, but those gears didn't really fall into place until like very recently. So
yeah, it's always great because like I like the fact that you're always learning as an artist, and you never finish learning. You're
always a student.
Yeah, always a student. That's always a good mentality to have, and just figuring out like, all right, this is the best I could do right now. If you could find someone else to help you critique your fellow artists, and that's why I'm very a strong advocate of an art community and just having great art friends. They can help you see things that you can't see because you've been looking at this drawing, this painting, whatever you're making forever, and then having fresh eyes that are not your own is super helpful.
That's why I always keep an extra jar next to me.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And then you get the monkey with firing gun, right? And then like, boom, Eternal, and then such a Sasuke.
All that went right over my head because I never watched Naruto.
Oh no!
Yeah. It's okay, I can pretend to know what you're talking about.
Okay.
Yeah, but I do know what you're actually talking about.
Good.
I agree.
Because you're a big enough anime nerd like all of us.
No, I meant like the actual like get a fresh pair of eyes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the boring thing, not the fun anime thing.
I like how we've known Franklin for like a good amount of months now, and I literally did not know your backstory at all because we just keep saying, "Oh, we'll save it for the podcast."
Oh yeah.
Every time I'm trying to talk about something like this related to my background or history, Mimi's like, "No, shut up, no, don't talk." La 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 la.
It's pretty cool getting it for the first time though, and it all
That's
like
true.
makes sense.
Especially when like. Yeah, I've known Franklin for even less, and I feel like when we have a guest on, we have the backstory segment. One of us knows more than the other. Of like, okay, I know this person, so one of us is learning while the other is like, yeah, and like piping in with their own knowledge of this. I'm too animated, fucking knocking stuff over. But yeah, we're both learning at the same time. But
well, that's good.
Franklin's
like,
cool,
you guys
tragic
have questions,
backstory.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then just shoot them my way. I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Like, where are we now on this journey?
So we're on the part where we were talking about AI robots taking over our jobs as artists and how they would have problems.
Yes.
I finished my background of like just going through my art journey and finally getting an industry. But in the meantime of getting into my journey and just being an artist in the industry without thinking that I was a proper artist, I had like huge sort of like imposter syndrome. And that's one of the problems that I found out that a lot of artists had. Yeah. And just that also builds up into anxiety and like a lot of stress and just feeling like you're not good enough for like within this team or for the industry or anything in general. And it is it's definitely a major depressor in terms of like your mood and everything, and just like affects you artistically and just being able to like wanting to create something and you just feel like it's not good enough yet. You keep iterating until you get frustrated. That's part of the creative process that I had to like really learn about and sort of manage. Not overcome, but manage, because that's never going away. That's so true. I heard. Yeah. Well, I'm like, well, shit.
Did you ever feel anything like that when you were studying like bioengineering?
In bioengineering, it was more clear cut because like memorize the Krebs cycle for metabolism, or like memorize these like physics equations.
It's kind of like there is one right answer.
Yeah, and they figured all this shit out for you already. Versus like in art, you're like, how do you find your own style? Yeah. How do you like you can learn the fundamentals of like perspective, value, composition, and so forth. But afterwards, it's like, all right, you guys, be free. Yeah. Learn to fly now.
Kind of, and then you can like like
all they told you is like,
So how do you find your own style? And then those same people who taught you, I
Yeah, just do it. Just do it.
You can figure it out.
Like one of the most fun things is like when we're like all hanging out, and I run a portrait group, portrait painting night weekly session, and back then it was like more popular when all of us were still in the Bay Area. All my art friends were still here before they got pushed out from living expenses, and. Back then we would just like paint portraits every Thursday nights, and we'll just paint, and people get frustrated, and we would just make the joke of like, well, just be good, don't suck. That's pretty much the secret of like doing art, is like get to a point where you keep practicing and keep going until you're good enough, and then just keep maintaining that sort of like momentum.
Yeah, I think I heard like that's just a joke that everybody does, but it's also kind of serious.
Yeah.
We were talking about like some sort of like Photoshop trick or like something in regards to I can't remember what we were talking about. It was back in NZ, and one of our coworkers, Justin Sansucci, was like showing us how to do something, and it's like, or you could just paint it right the first time. Like that's how.
Yeah, yeah. It's like that stupid meme art meme where you like how to draw an owl. You just draw step 1, draw a circle.
Step 2, draw the rest of the fucking owl.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
There's like a famous Smash quote, which is like how do you play Smash Bros? And it's one guy was just like, just don't get hit. Like, that's just how you play the game. That's how you win. You don't get hit.
Avoid being hit.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's the same thing for art.
We'll play competitive Overwatch and do the same thing. It's like this. All right, guys, I got a strategy. Don't die.
Yeah. It's like it's the equivalent of telling you just like don't suck at art.
Yeah.
And which is like half true. Like in order to not suck at art, you had to put your work into it.
Yeah.
You had to put many hours into it, and that's all it took. And even then, it's still not enough, because people are always going to be good, and there's always going to be someone better than you, and then you might fall behind in terms of like what your expectations are, because you see better work every time. So
think about it like Rocky Balboa. You got to have that eye of the tiger.
Oh yeah.
Because
the artist eye of the tiger.
Yeah. Otherwise, Mr. T comes along and he see you. You're not hungry no more, but he is.
Oh yeah,
so
he's hungry.
Yeah, exactly. So think about Mr. T and Rocky Balboa.
I don't know. If I'm like drawing, I'm like, Mr. T, he's coming for me.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Gotta get that eye of the tiger.
Yeah.
Gotta stay hungry.
Yeah. Like as someone who's definitely like stunted my own like growth in art because of that kind of imposter syndrome or that anxiety, like anytime I tried to like paint something, I'd just be like, well, what am I like? Why do I think I could do this? I can't do it. And so like I feel like I've definitely stunted my own growth. Yeah, that's the worst thing you can do, is just not to do something.
Yeah, and that's why I wanted to do this sort of collaborative sketch thing where I'm like we will do a sketch for each other, we'll pass along, and then we'll paint it, and we set a deadline. So there's like some sort of like deadline to finish something, so at least you're forcing yourself. There's some obligations to do something, and then this way, it's the best way to like to get better art. You gotta do it. That's it. There's no shortcut.
Yeah, deadlines are a good tool, I think. So if you can get that, I mean, it's tough to set a deadline for yourself, but now I'm roped into this group thing. I can't let my buddies down.
Yeah.
I gotta meet this deadline. And deadlines are good. Deadlines make me work better.
Yeah, it works for me because I'm a lazy bastard.
Exactly, me too.
Yeah, and like, sure, there are people with self-discipline.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whatever that is.
Yeah, I'm super envious of those folks.
Yeah.
I lack a lot of it, even though people think I'm very prolific. I go out, paint, whatever. Yeah. But I'm always like hitting up my friends like, hey, you guys want to go painting? And then usually someone who's with better self-discipline will go like, hell yeah, I want to go painting. I'm like, I'm going to latch onto your self-discipline. And just go. Like go along with you. So like it's the same thing, creating a group of people. Eventually someone's going to be like very like, I don't know, methodical and like, okay, I have to do art. And everyone's just sort of just like, I don't know, rise with them. And like, hey,
yeah,
let's do art.
Yeah.
Got a good art wake.
Oh yeah.
To write in.
Oh yeah.
I'm gonna just latch onto his clout. I just want to say clout again. That doesn't make sense contextually.
Yeah, another thing one of my teachers said in school was like, find the person you think is like the best in class and just do what they're doing. And I'm like yeah, in terms of like how often are they studying, like how often are they practicing and painting, and like do that, and then you'll be as good as they are.
Yeah, I mean that's why I like the sort of like artist community, just being able to like create a community with a bunch of people who will hold each other accountable in terms of like learning, and just creative energy feeds off of other people's creative energy. So
Yeah.
that's very important. And I felt like that was something that I didn't know before, just being a self-taught artist back then. It was hard to like motivate myself, but at the same time, like I really wanted it back then. And now that it's funny that when you get into a level where like you're kind of comfortable, you get into that comfort zone, being content, you're like, wow, shoot, I need that hunger back.
Yeah.
How do I recreate that hunger?
Yeah, it's bad to get like not what's the other word? Not content, but complacent.
Yes.
Yeah, I've fallen into that trap before in like my previous job, for example. I feel like I got complacent, and then you find out that you find yourself in a position where you're back out into the wilds, and you've been complacent this whole time. You haven't been like struggling to like get better. Now I'm like in deep water, and that's sort of like the position that I found myself in.
I think those are two conditions for like human beings in general to like to better themselves, to have struggles, and you have to do change for like either you change yourself with self-discipline and you know you had to improve, or external factors where you're like, oh shit, I'm screwed. It's do or die.
Exactly.
So yeah, complacency, not a good thing for people who want to continue learning and becoming a better person in general, better self.
That's true.
And for us, being art. And not to knock off anyone who is complacent. If you're happy being complacent, that's good too. I've met artists who they work in certain positions and they have other things in life to keep them happy and what they want to strive for. And to them, doing the art part is just a job. And life happens. You have kids, you get married, you got a family, and that's their priorities shift towards that end, and that's their new sort of goal. But for me, I want to find like-minded people that help, create that group again to like further my ambition as an artist to like be better, and just always learning. Being in that mentality is really important for me.
Yeah.
We both shake our heads.
Yes.
Or nod our heads.
Vigorously nodding
yeah.
our heads.
I had to like call that out because we're both doing this, and it's like, oh, you can't hear that.
It's like emoji head nod.
Mm-hmm. I feel like we put a pin on that thought though. Like,
yeah,
that's pretty complete.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It was just being able to try new things nowadays. Like creativity does get stale, and that's something that's kind of scary sometimes, and that runs into like being complacent too. But like try new things. I like to just like try different mediums. That's why I like to get into traditional art. I like, even in traditional art, I've done oils for a long time. I'm like, hey, what's this watercolor thing? Let's try this out. Oh my god, I suck at it. And then you get into that mode where you're like, I have to relearn everything again. And that's why I like trying different new things of like, you get into that mindset of like, I'm starting from the bottom again. I gotta learn to like catch up. And that hunger carries over to your other disciplines, which is great. So doing that, well, I picked up woodworking, and
Yeah, you've been
so
making,
diverse.
Like,
yeah.
what are they called? Pochade?
Pochade. Oh, this is a planar easel setup, but I made pochade boxes that's attached to a tripod that you could put your canvas and your paints on there to like mix and start painting outdoors. It's just a portable easel, basically. I've made modifications to it. I have like 3 versions of it. It's like my 3rd generation of making this box. And I built other things with like just learning from building that box. I started dabbling into like other things like just home improvement projects and just being able to like learn my tools. Yeah.
If you're an artist, you can also easily be a home improvement.
Yeah. The handyman comes in. Yeah. So it was really interesting because like I have like an iPad which I use daily on Procreate for like creating digital drawings and paintings. I also use that to plan out projects for woodworking. So I would take a photo of like a certain area of like my parents' house that they want me to fix up, and I'll just take the picture and redline over it. Like, these are the modifications I'm gonna make. I gotta build this. These are my measurements. I'm like, oh, this is kind of cool. Like, a lot of my skills transfer over there, and then just being able to do that and just like problem solve there helps me clear my mind so that when I go back into art, I'm like with fresher eyes, my own fresher eyes. Yeah. So just being able to jump around different things, doing different creative projects, really, or just doing something entirely different, helps you rest your creative mind. So then you feel fresh when you get back on the easel or the drawing board or your Photoshop or whatever you need.
Yeah.
Head nods all
Head
around.
nods.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
More vigorous head nodding.
Wait, do you guys have any like things that you do outside of art? Like, I guess video games is one thing. Movies.
Yeah, if we can count that.
It counts.
Yeah,
I
it counts,
think
I
it counts
guess,
a
yeah.
lot. Like, especially when you want to be in the gaming or the movie industry, I think it's very important to consume what you love to do.
That's true. Yeah, I definitely. It's not that I think it's odd. I think it's a kind of strange when someone's in that industry and they have like no interest in like the products that they are a part of making. You know, like. I mean, the game.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, that was really oddly phrased, but yeah, it makes sense to me. Like, oh, I like games. I'm in the game industry. It's really weird. It's like, yeah, I do all this stuff. Hate games. No, don't want to do it.
No, it's like painting and drawing
Yeah.
little characters, but I'll never play a single game.
Exactly. Like that'd be strange. It's like working in Hollywood and like never going to watch movies. Like you kind of want at least like to have the context of the world that you're in.
Yeah.
Like, you know, sample what else is out there.
It's like being a doctor, but like not liking anything in the medical field, and you're just like, I just like doing surgeries, but I hate everything else about it. That's just,
Yeah,
like
pretty
super
much.
weird. Or like
I'm trying to think of a better metaphor. Like
being a tattoo artist with no tattoos on.
there
That's
you go.
a good one.
There's that.
It's
I
like, I
can't
just don't
remember
like getting
what-
tattoos.
Yeah, no, I don't like tattoos. No.
But I'll do one on you.
I wouldn't see. Yeah, you wouldn't trust a tattoo artist that has no tattoos, right?
I mean, there are some really good ones without tattoos, but
Never
you just
mind.
trust their
I
body
just
work.
Eat
Body
my word.
work. Yeah.
Eat my words right there.
No, but I'm saying like that's
no,
sort of
that's
a good
false,
metaphor.
Josh, you fucking idiot.
No, it's a good metaphor.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
like,
We'll pause this recording. We'll come back with a good. No, I'm just
being a baker that doesn't like cookies.
Well, kind of like a chef who doesn't taste his own food.
That,
Yes.
there you go.
Yes, that's the
better.
one, yeah.
That's sort of what I was trying to go for, but my
Yeah.
shitty brain didn't come up with it in time.
I think I got all our shooting brains are just like, it's that thing that's that thing. We just know it is there, but like Mimi comes up with the best one.
No. For me, for like that reset thing, I just sometimes just need to. I feel like maybe re-ground myself by doing stuff like looking out the window, or like that's why I actually like taking the train to and from places.
Yeah.
Just get a lot of window time and
Yeah.
you just look out the window.
Come up with ideas like,
Yeah.
let's make a podcast.
Oh yeah, that's how I came up with the podcast.
She's on the train like staring out the window, and then a cloud flies by and says podcast. Yeah.
Wow, that's really weird that all those letters are forming the clouds.
Josh Karinka. It's like, whoa.
Yeah, told me everything I needed to know.
Mhm.
Yeah, oh, that's good. Like, not doing art is also a good thing.
Yeah.
Like, everyone needs breaks.
Yeah,
It's
like
healthy.
standing up and taking a break and doing a puzzle for.
Oh,
We've begun to do puzzles at the
Puzzle
office.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's a lot of like, I find myself like when I'm just doing art constantly, I have this sort of like momentum that I'm like, oh, I gotta create, but I burn out really fast from that.
Yeah.
And then you gotta be able to pace yourself and time yourself, like just being able to like set sessions of like, okay, do art for 20 minutes, take a 5-minute break,
Yeah.
come back into it.
I'll have the same thing where I'm like, you get into the swing of it.
Yeah.
You're like going, I'm like painting. And I'm like, oh, whew, that was exhausting. How long? Oh, it's only been like 40 minutes. I thought I was painting all day.
Yeah, it feels that way.
Yeah.
Like it's a lot of energy that you exert when you're like problem solving like every second when you're like painting, because
Yeah.
like your brain is processing all these things that even though as artists like we do it subconsciously now if you've done it for like a long enough time, but recently I had to do a little demo at work for oil portraits, and for that demoing is different because you had to speak out loud on
Mhm.
what your process is and what you're thinking about.
Mm-hmm.
And to put those into sentences, because everything happens so quick, all like in my brain you hear, if you're in my brain, all you hear is like words like, oh, lighter, darker, brighter, warmer. And it's like these phrases like it has to do this, but then like what I really meant was like, oh, this compared to like this part of the painting is too bright, or it's too dark, it's too cool, or too warm. But in your head, you don't have a time to like, I'm going to complete a sentence and write an essay.
Saying all that stuff.
Yeah, your brain just going bright, dark,
Yeah.
bright, bright, bright.
That was a good demo, though.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I got to paint Gung. He was an amazing model.
Yeah.
Beautiful man.
He sat so still.
Yeah. Statuesque.
Yeah, statuesque.
Yeah. And he loves that painting, and it's hanging next to his desk.
It is.
It's interesting. I've had like, I wonder what it's like being an art model, and then like you do a pose, and now there's like all these angles of you in that pose, like from all the different artists.
Oh, me?
Like
right?
we have just a bunch of Gung faces drawn like by different people.
Oh, that's true. I do have that Gung face in my sketchbook now.
And I have one too. And if you just collect everybody together, we get a good like look around his face.
Yeah, there's a turnaround. Like I remember there was this Instagram post where like someone did a workshop, and it was like a figure drawing workshop. So they took all the poses of all the students that did it, and the model was the model was set in the center, so you get to see like a frame by frame turnaround of the model, like done in different styles. That's really cool.
I want to see that now.
Yeah, I'll try to look for it later.
Okay,
and
then we'll put it in the link dump.
Oh yeah, if we find it.
Yeah, there's a big if.
Yeah, Instagram's a deep well.
Yeah. How the hell do you find stuff on Instagram?
I don't know. There's this thing called hashtag that I can't figure out. Yeah, but like being an art model though, I have experience doing that because whenever I run portrait nights, and if I can't find a model or my model bails, I'm kind of like the default sit-in model.
Oh, really?
Oh,
okay.
man. How
And
many
modeling.
times have you had to do that?
3.
Oh.
I kept count. Yeah, he's like all the time I'm like sitting there, I'm like modeling, keeping super still. I'm like, I wish I was painting or drawing myself. I was like in my head, I'm just thinking all these weird things. Like, I wish I could clone myself to model for myself, so I could sit there and paint myself.
You
instead.
just astral project.
Yeah.
And then what? And you just shove them in the closet after?
Yeah. Get in the model closet.
Oh,
Get in the clone closet.
What was some of the lighthearted stuff you had in store?
Oh well, I love like. Do you guys ever get the part where like you're drawing, you're painting? So coming as a person without that many art friends, and mainly my friends being engineers and scientists or whatever other fields not doing art, you have a lot of like the typical asks from other friends, like, "Oh, can you design my tattoo?" Or the one I get the most is like, "Hey, oh, you did a painting of a person or a figure drawing person? Can you paint me like one of your French girls?"
Yeah.
I'm just like,
always hear that joke.
I hear that 24/7.
I hate that shit.
And I decide to act on one of them.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was just like, yeah, sure, give me a photo. And I basically just took a space and just like pretended that he was nude and just painted in that pose, exactly the French girl pose from Titanic. And I just posted it on his wall. I was like, here you go. I painted you like one of the French girls now.
Nice.
Just to get that out of the way.
Yeah, how did he receive it?
He loved it.
That's good.
Yeah. I mean, it's weird because like, as an artist, one of your only artists inside like a giant friend group, like that dynamic's kind of weird.
Yeah. One of the things that I love personally, and by that, so I do like, illustrations, concept art, that kind of shit, right? I'm not a graphic designer by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah.
Some reason everybody wants you to design their logo.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know how to design a logo.
Yeah.
At all.
No.
So
leave that to the graphic designers.
yeah, and I had to explain that, and then it's like, yeah, but you could probably figure it out. Like,
Yeah, exactly. They're like, and then they're just kind of like, well, don't you want the job though? Like, you could just do it. Like, oh, I gotten that so much. And it's like,
Nope.
I don't want the job.
No.
But it is kind of cool. Like, if you do, like, decide to like tackle this thing, it's a whole new thing to learn.
Yes, but
not as professional.
Yeah, and especially not as a favor to a friend.
Oh, no.
Like, I'm starting to like think of it a specific example, and they did offer to pay me. I'm just like, listen, whatever I make is not going to be a good result. It's going to be one of the first logo designs I ever do. Like,
I think that's one of the things. Like, working with a client versus your client being your friend. That's a weird territory to be in.
Exactly.
And I don't think I want to ever do that again. Having experiences like it's like Catan. It might ruin friendships.
We're still friends.
Yeah.
Bringing it back to Catan.
Oh yeah. But I've worked with friends before. We're still friends, but like it was just it's like finding out like when you roommate with your friend, and you're like, oh shoot, we don't jive.
Ooh,
Then,
that's rough.
Yeah, then it's like working with your friends. Like there's sometimes that you just don't jive, and that's terrible. But you know, you get through it, and you're like, all right, done with the tasks. Let's move on. And then next time, just don't work with friends as much.
Yeah, that brings
and
me...
if you do work with friends, do it for free out of your kindness of your heart if you have the time and you want to.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it reminds me of a time where I worked for a friend, and it was like to make a brochure, which is not something I do either. But I was
more
like,
graphic design.
Yeah, and they just like coerced me into it, and they're like, well, but you're an artist, don't you want like an art job? And I was like, I was young, and I was like, okay, I'll do it. And then it was like time to get paid, and then they were like, do you have PayPal? And I was like, actually, I don't have PayPal. Like, I prefer just like check or cash, because it wasn't that much either.
Oh, okay.
It was not a lot of money. And then they kind of like gave me this little lecture, and they're like, well, you're gonna be like a professional, you should probably get PayPal. And I was like, okay. I opened up that's why I have a PayPal account. It's because
Accept your friend's payment.
Yeah, and then in the end they were like, oh, actually, it's not really working, or like they couldn't like get their PayPal to work or something, and they're like, I'm just gonna give you cash. And I was like, that's what I wanted in the first place. But yeah, that wasn't fun. That wasn't fun.
No.
I thought you were gonna say, oh, PayPal's not working, so you didn't get paid. Or
Oh,
Yeah.
no, they gave me money.
Dude,
Okay.
if your friend ditched you with the payment, like you're like, oh god, you're a terrible client. Sort of like that nightmare scenario. That's like end of a friendship almost.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, it would.
Ugh. Yeah.
Like hashtag artist nightmare or something like that.
Yeah, there's that blog where like nightmare clients, right? Like
No?
for designers, for like.
Oh wait,
yeah.
Or do I? This actually does sound familiar.
Yeah, where they just post everything about like the most terrible clients on Tumblr or something like that.
Okay, I do remember seeing something like this, but I haven't thought about it in so long.
And just a lot of artists just getting shafted.
Yeah.
And just like, oh, no payment because I don't like your product.
It's a way to make yourself angry as an artist.
Oh yeah.
But it's also like to anybody who's done it, just like so painfully relatable.
Yeah,
It's like the ultimate empathy, like or sympathy, empathy, one of those.
Both of those, maybe.
Both, maybe. Yeah, it's just a lot of shit. Like, what's your worst client you've ever had?
Ooh. This was actually...
And name names.
Okay.
No, I'm kidding. Don't name.
Actually, like, I did a commission for a beer pong table. That was back in college when I didn't know I wanted to be an artist, but I was artistic. So I painted, like, the Dark Side of the Moon album cover on a beer pong table.
That's awesome.
And the guy, like, I was working in spray cans because that was my graffiti phase. And
you have a spray can themed
yeah, you're wearing...
t-shirt.
Oh yeah,
It's all I could think about while you were talking about your graffiti phase as well. Okay,
yeah.
Continue.
And then so like he bought the materials. It was a coworker of mine from lifeguarding, and he was interested in my process, so he participated with me to like create this beer pong table. And really all he did was like, I created a design, just copied it, made the stencils out of it, and then got the like stuff set up and ready. And he wanted to help out, quotation marks.
Yeah.
And said, well, I'm gonna spray some black because it's mostly black on pretty much all of it.
Yeah.
And I was doing the main design part, the prism and the rainbow and stuff. And after we finished, I'm like, cool. And payment time. So he works with me. And the next day, I'm like, hey, so when am I gonna get my money? And he's like, oh yeah, I'll get it to you next time.
Okay.
And then it kept going on for a long while. And then suddenly at like the third time asking, he says, can I get a discount? I'm like,
oh god,
wait, what?
So
why?
you guys had agreed like on a price and
Yeah,
everything.
there was a price and amount, and I was an amateur artist. I had no idea what the like code of conduct for like getting payment up front, 50% up front, and then 50% after the final product is delivered. Before the final product is delivered.
Yeah.
And I just got screwed. And he was like, trying to like wiggle his way into like something cheaper, and I was just saying, hey, I did this for $100. That's super cheap. Painting your giant ass beer pong table and spending all that like whole afternoon over there.
Yeah.
And he was like, well, I helped out
by spraying some black into a mostly black.
Yeah, it was like, I'm like, dude, this guy's a dick.
Yeah.
And I just like, you know what? Fuck it. You just have that table. I don't even want your payment anymore.
Yeah.
I just like, well, screw this. I don't want to deal with you. And that's probably why he wanted it in the end. That was like, after that, I'm like, yeah, I should probably learn about how to be an artist and how to get paid.
Yeah.
And that's where, So get your payment 50% up front.
Yeah.
If you can.
If they don't want to pay you, if they wiggle out of that, they're a bad client. You don't want to work for them anyway.
Don't work for those.
Yeah.
You guys have any terrible client stories?
I've got a few.
I have not freelanced. That I don't think I have. At least not in like a very professional way. Like I did that brochure.
And that was the extent.
Yeah.
I mean, you got paid. So.
I did.
Right.
That's true.
In the end, you got paid. That's not that bad.
Yeah.
I have some stories. I think the worst one was it was a client from Singapore. It was like a project of designing and illustrating some characters for some like RPG game. You know, like just having those. They're like assets for the characters to like appear on the screen and talk and shit like that, right? And it was like a group of like 6 male, 6 female, something like that. And it was just like the micromanaging, nitpicky kind of like client that everybody dreads, right? And I don't know, it's just text. There's nothing too interesting. It's just sort of like textbook, like knowing what they want but not telling you until after you sort of like are most of the way through.
Yeah.
And then demanding you change certain things. But he was like rude about it too.
Ooh.
And I mean, it's nothing like unique, but I was just like so angry with him by the end of the whole thing. Like at a certain point, like he wasn't satisfied with any of the female characters that I had made, only some of the male characters. He eventually like canceled like halfway through, like basically canceled all the. I didn't get paid for the work that I put into the female characters, only for like the completed male characters. It was one of those things that I didn't get 50% up from, kind of thing. And it's just I wasn't making like the female characters slutty enough for this guy's tastes.
Ugh.
It was really what it came down to. Like he eventually like, hey, can you make so and so's character look, her design her face to look more like this? And he sends me this fucking super low res picture of some like woman or whatever. And I'm like, don't you have like a higher res like reference photo if you want her to look like this? And he's like, you should be able to work with that or something like that, blah, blah, blah. So I do a reverse image search on it to try to find a higher res image. And it's just like, oh, this is a porn star. Like, that was all the results.
It was a screenshot.
It was a screenshot
of
some porn that he was watching or something like that. Yeah.
God.
Oh.
Yeah, that was like, oh, okay, that's what you want.
He's just like, man, just imagining context of how he got that screenshot was just terrible. Yeah. He's just like, one day he's like just going at his business.
Yeah.
And he's like, wait a second, this one's perfect for this.
I want her in my game.
Yes. Hold on, pause. Screenshot, capture, email.
Exactly what happened probably. Anyways.
Did you feel dirty after that?
No, I was like, I would have been laughing if I wasn't already so like out of patience with that guy.
Yeah.
So yeah, I got paid for half of the work, kind of, because I had so many iterations with the female characters that he didn't like. I don't know.
I mean, doing all those iterations, that is work itself too.
I know, and you're supposed to get paid for that kind of stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And
there's fuck that guy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's there are some clients out there who play like psychological warfare.
Yeah.
They just want to like be able to nickel and dime you, and they're using every play in the book.
Yeah.
So it's just finding the right clients to work with. There's always your own power into like ending your contract with a client and putting a clause in your contract to say like, hey, this is my kill fee. Let's just end this like client relationship right now.
Yeah.
So that's really important. I've quit out of jobs before too, where I'm like, this is too much hassle to deal with. I'll recommend someone else. You could probably work with them.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, there was a funny contract gig I got was after I got laid off from Zynga. I was working with this contracting studio who just like outsourced artists to like do other works for clients.
Yeah.
And they reached out to me and they're like, hey, we love your stuff. we got this client who wants to like work with you. We think you'd be perfect for. And they send me something, and then like, our client Zynga. I'm like, I worked with them, and they're like, that's why you're so perfect. And then I took the job because I needed money.
Yeah. I was in a position where after getting laid off at Machine Zone, I started working with some outsourcers that work with Machine Zone, and I was just mentally prepared myself to maybe they're gonna give me Machine Zone work to do, and that wouldn't that be just the ultimate irony or whatever? But they gave me other projects, luckily. So yeah.
All right. Do you guys have any best client stories?
Ooh.
Yeah, you know, for all the
actually,
bad
I think
ones,
so.
there's a lot of good ones out there.
Surprisingly, it's probably actually, this far into the game, probably have more good experiences than bad experiences.
Yeah.
Cool.
At least in recent life.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
If you go back to the beginning, they're all bad.
Oh yeah.
For me.
That's when you had
Yeah.
no idea what to do.
Yeah.
Nowadays, you're like, you can pick and choose.
Exactly.
Yeah, and then you know if this is like a potential bad one, you're like, nah.
Yeah.
Nah.
So I think my favorite client was Volta Studios.
Oh, they're great.
They're great. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just had a lot of fun. It was like for I can say Bakugan like trading card game.
Oh.
And like they just had their shit figured out, and it was like cool. I just did the work, and it was all good.
Nice.
I got to, well, this was through a friend, but I got to work with Facebook, contracting for a pitch deck for VR stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just the future of VR. And my buddy Dan, he works at Facebook and needed some like mock storyboards for like the future of VR and how we interact with it for their Oculus stuff. And yeah, they paid me really well. That's always number one.
Yeah.
Good payment.
Good payment. You're automatically on track to being a good client.
Yeah, exactly. Being able to pay your professionals. And then number two is like being very communicative. So it's very like, even though like this is a project I've never like really got into, but like it's easy to like work with a client who was on top of the emails, being sure of what they want, and this way you are able to deliver exactly what they want.
Yeah.
And that's the best client.
Exactly.
Good payment and being clear.
Yeah, good communication.
Yeah.
Knowing what they want and communicating that. Like I was for that project like given a very clear, well-made like art style guide and like process video even. And it's like perfect. Like there's no confusion here. Like I know what to do. That's the best thing. It's better than going back and forth with a client that doesn't know how to like tell you what they need.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the other way around it is to like, if after having a good experience with a good client, next time you work with a different client or something, take those good experiences and just really like what made it great. So communication was key. Payment, you could control how much you get paid by setting a rate. Now, being able to get all your questions answered up front through email so that you have it in writing, you could always refer back to that and say like, hey, we agreed upon this sort of style or this sort of things, and just being able to like point and like, hey, you said this and this and this. Having a paper trail is super important. And then, you know, they can't back out their words. It's written in stone right there.
Exactly.
Yeah. So this helps future client, like working freelance with other people, just to like get your paper trail, get your questions answered. If you have anything like questions beforehand, make sure to ask all of it before starting work. Because once you start work, you're on the clock.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Good stuff.
Real life tips for
Yeah.
struggling artists.
Art struggles. Saying that,
That's
but
struggle.
like
That's
I
our
don't working as a full-time artist now in the studio. I take less freelance.
I take
Only-
no freelance.
Yeah, I take no. I took less freelance to no freelance because I want to work on my own stuff.
Exactly.
Like, it's very important as an artist to like work on your personal stuff, and that being traditional art, woodworking, or whatever you want to do.
I think I've only done freelance on top of full time once, and I was just like, it was such a like headache to do both that I was just like, nah, man. Like, I need to have a life outside of this, outside of working for someone else.
I mean, the only time I had to do that was like, I need some extra fun traveling money.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then I could go to Japan or Hawaii or wherever. I'm just like, all right, if I sacrifice just these few weekends, I could go on a trip.
Yeah, I guess that's fair enough.
But then those are like the most miserable weekends.
That's true. Listen, for all our listeners who are Brandon Sanderson fans, it's basic rules of Furikemi. You store that attribute so you can pull it out later. You sacrifice some miserable weekends to have some fun vacation time.
Yeah. The struggles.
Yeah.
I guess that makes sense.
It makes sense to anybody who's read Mistborn. This is for your Mistborn fans out there.
I'm sure we have plenty.
Well,
that's something I had to brush up on.
I hope so. It's a good book. Everyone should read Brandon Sanderson.
Okay, on my to-read list.
Yeah, dude. Do it so I have more people to talk to.
Mm-hmm.
This is like me and Kyle at work, like nerding out
Oh,
about the Starlight Archives.
You guys are talking.
I mean, it's just like when you try to make us like watch that webtoon or read that web comic.
Oh yeah, that's another recommendation I could throw out for the listeners. If you want to see like the evolution of art on a webtoon as well, I'm just trying to like loosely tie it back to art. It's not for that. It's just for like the transformation of like the genre of this webtoon. It's called Scoob and Shag. Or was it Shag and Scoob? I don't remember. One of the two. You Google it, Google will get you to the right place.
Oh yeah.
It just starts out as dumb little comics, and then as you click through, a plot begins to appear.
Oh yeah, it's amazing. We can't spoil anything. We're not going to spoil anything.
I can't say anything, and I have to check to see if they've updated it since then.
Yeah, you got us all into it just so that we could suffer with you.
Yeah.
I still need to finish.
And I was drawn into that by a friend of mine who wanted someone to suffer with him. So
God.
It's just like this thing.
Yeah, you exploited my binge mentality.
Yeah. God, it's so good though. It's like and now the guy's art style is just like I think that like, we talked about this. I think he's deliberately started out shitty and just like increased his actual like skill level.
You think, or do you think he just got better because
I mean, maybe it's
maybe
I think
both.
It could be a little bit of both. Like it started like it's been going for over a year, so it's conceivable that he like did get that much better. But at the same time, it's sort of just like I don't know. You look at the beginning of it, and it's like somebody could easily just be like, "I'm gonna just draw shitty pictures," even though they're really good.
There's a lot like you can see the evolution of like comic book artists or manga artists. They all start off kind of like different, and then on the like longer series like One Piece or like anything else,
JoJo's Bizarre Adventure.
Yeah, they like the art style from like the latest chapters to like the early chapters are so dramatic.
But it makes sense when it's something that spans that long. Like this is like years and years and years of like an evolution of an artist. That's why I don't buy it with this one, because it's like such a short span of time.
You'd be surprised though. Like if you draw something for like a whole year every day.
I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. No.
I think,
you can make leaps and bounds in a year.
That's how you improve.
Yes.
Draw every day.
No.
Uh-huh.
And that's totally possible. I just don't think this is a case where it's...
Okay.
Yeah.
Just very personally.
It's like, I can believe that somebody improved that much in a year. I just don't think this guy... I just think it's the part of the joke.
Oh, he was just keeping it hidden in the tank and just like decided to bust it out at the end. Yeah.
It's a punchline.
Kind of. It's like there's so many levels to the genius of Scoob and Shag.
Okay.
It goes with the story though.
Curious.
Yeah, it does. It does.
Yeah, it goes with the story.
I'm curious. I'm so curious.
Okay.
Well, you have to catch up, maybe.
I do. I need to catch up.
Yeah. It was like the world building of that is
world
pretty.
Building.
Yeah.
The idea that there's world building in something that stupid.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's funny, and I'm like, damn.
Yeah.
That's genius, actually.
This just goes to show you like world building can be achieved in many different ways. Like
Yeah, you always had to have a good story.
Yeah.
Especially designing anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, like who's that one guy again? I always forget his name, but he has like the clean little line art drawings. He did like World of Tomorrow.
Is it a
Don
film?
Hertzfeldt.
Don Hertzfeldt. Okay, wait.
Yeah.
Wait.
Don Hertzfeldt.
Wait. I just need to see this stuff to know. Oh,
he's the guy who did The Meaning of Life.
Yes, that was the other one.
And Rejected. Right?
Yeah.
But yeah, like, I mean, I guess simple. Can I say simple?
Yeah,
like, simple.
I would say simple.
Yeah, like iconography kind of art style and world building.
Yeah, there you go.
I mean, nowadays you just need like really good story and really good like just storytelling in general, and you could have like crappy art and it'd still be charming. Like the crappy art could be part of the grab too.
Yeah.
Like Rick and Morty is kind of like that ugly style, but we'd love it.
Yeah.
But they have such an amazing story that you're just like drawn into it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think a lot of there's kind of like a lot of Adult Swim stuff that falls under that category. Ugly art, but they've created this weird, engaging story. Yeah.
Yeah.
I hesitate to say Aqua Teen Hunger Force, but I love Aqua Teen Hunger Force, and there is a plot, kind of.
Yeah. It just shows that, like, for us, like, having an important story, like, good design and everything, we're just the cherry on top.
Yeah.
Like, but then, like, that cherry is so important to, like, also, like, help viewers to, like, be engaged, too.
That's true. Because looking ugly isn't mass marketable.
No. Not at all.
So, yeah. We might like that stuff, and it might have a niche audience, but, yeah, if you want to make it, appeal to everybody, you need good art. You need good visuals. You need to be Marvel or something, yeah. So everybody likes you. You make being a nerd cool. Speaking of which, Endgame coming. Let's turn this into the movie podcast, the Marvel movie podcast. No? Okay.
No, Endgame is great. I'm kind of superheroed out.
I am too. I'm in that boat.
You think it's coming at the perfect time where people or more and more people are getting to that point of like
just being fatigued,
the exhaustion? So maybe it's like a good time to be like, all right.
They could have did it last year.
Yeah, I mean they had the opportunity, but they had to split it into 2 movies. So
yeah, Lord of the Rings style, Harry Potter style. Everyone's doing that.
God, don't even get me started with like Hobbit. Oh God, what a
terrible
disappointment.
Yeah,
I think we've talked about that.
We have talked about that before, so I'm not gonna go down that road.
No, let's not go down.
I've already like told people what to listen to Lindsay Sterling.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay, good.
I mean, I don't know. I don't think you said her name last time.
Did I not?
Or you couldn't remember it completely.
It is Lindsay Sterling, right? I'm not remembering that wrong.
I'm
gonna Google it.
Pull out your phones again.
Yeah.
But you're tired of
I like the part of
movies.
your podcast where you pull out your phones.
I am tired of superhero movies. I can't remember the last time I saw one of the ones that like tie into that whole Marvel universe.
Nope.
I can't remember.
Cut that out. I said the wrong Lindsay.
I watched Captain Marvel not too long ago when it came out.
Yep, didn't watch that.
I was like, cool. I don't know, I'm done.
Yeah, I'm so done.
It's like
I didn't watch Captain Marvel.
I loved like, having cool like female like superheroes and all that stuff, but it's just that story was not gripping enough for me. That Captain Marvel as a character was just like, okay, she's all powerful.
Lindsay Ellis.
Okay, then what?
Oh my gosh. Alright everyone, Lindsay Ellis has a great YouTube channel about what went wrong with The Hobbit.
Okay. Josh, you already said that. Shut up, commenters. I'm just kidding. Please comment. We don't get enough comments.
Thank you to everyone who has commented. Thank you to Josh's mom who liked every single Instagram photo we have.
Is that confirmed now? What? Is that your mom?
Yeah, that is my mom.
Okay. She's great.
She is great.
Thank you for her support.
As soon as she hears this, I'm going to get a phone call or a text.
Shout out to Josh's mom.
Oh, no.
Do you want to make a little dedication to her right now?
Yes, she's one of our best marketers by word of mouth amongst my entire family. Yeah. Okay, moving on.
I think the last superhero movie I watched was like Spider-Man: Homecoming.
Really?
That was actually no.
I mean, it was good. But...
What about the Into the Spider-Verse? Does that count as a superhero movie?
I'm gonna say this doesn't count because it's not like part of that. What is it called?
The Marvel
Cinematic Universe. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or is it? Is it supposed? I don't know.
No, I don't think.
But
it
I did watch that. Yeah, but yeah.
Yeah, but when it comes
to
that,
cinematic universes.
When it comes to that, like when it's animated versus like real life action stuff, I'm like I put it in 2 different categories.
Yeah.
Because at least you could like, separate it from the craft and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but it's I don't know, just tired of that universe and just I want to move on to other things.
Yeah.
Just like that. It's like a soap opera that just keeps going. And people who die, they just come back to life. And
No.
Yeah.
Star Wars has also reached that point.
Oh, that's why they're taking a break, right?
Yeah, I guess.
This
I
is
don't
the
know.
last, like, the Rise of the Skywalkers. They're like, oh, we're going to take a hiatus after this.
That's what I heard, yeah. Which
Yeah.
is pretty crazy to think that.
Because they don't want to make any more spin-offs. Because, like, what, the last spin-off was Solo?
Yeah.
That was kind of a dull movie for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think we all agreed except Dylan.
Oh, did Dylan say he liked it?
Yeah, he did.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
Yeah, well, Dylan's wrong, so. Shout out to Dylan.
Yeah.
Shut up,
Calling him
Dylan,
out.
You're
No,
wrong.
And we said it on air, and you can't refute it at the moment.
And I know you're listening, and you can't say anything to us.
This is
But
the
we
part.
still love
This
you.
is the part where he
Yeah.
pauses it, takes off his headphones, turns around.
And we're going to stare at him.
Yeah.
It's like, what, Dylan?
Yeah,
I'm trying to remember-
We need more original creative content.
Yeah, and
Mhm.
also, but good also. No?
What's the last good original content movie that you've seen?
Fuck, that's a good question.
Ooh, it's a very good question. Oh, Us.
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 Yes,
I've
that was
been watching
good.
enough movies.
I was just
Get Out and Us.
I know. I get so overwhelmed when I think about like Jordan Peele because I feel like he just created his own genre. Like he created like Black Americana horror, like social commentary horror, and I was like, that is so
Social
cool.
commentary horror.
That is
Yeah.
so cool.
Damn, maybe I need to watch these movies.
Yeah, that makes it
Yeah.
extra scary too.
Mm-hmm.
At the same time, I think another one was kind of pretty cool. Was like Sorry to Bother You.
But yeah.
That was kind of in the same vein.
Mm-hmm.
But it was just so trippy, and I was just like, this is fresh. This is just new.
Mm-hmm.
It's original,
Yeah.
and it just shows that like I like seeing like newer things versus like just hashed out. Like I don't know, there's like remakes for everything nowadays, and like remakes are great, but if you do it with everyone else that are they're all shooting out their remakes. Lion King's getting remade, Mulan's getting remade.
Just get
everything.
used to everything by Disney being remade.
Yeah,
You know,
and they're
actually.
just like
it's
trying to
gonna
get that
happen.
nostalgia book, you know?
Yeah.
Trying to make that
No,
money.
there's apparently more to it than just that.
Yeah, and the copyright stuff
Yeah,
too.
Exactly.
But then, like at the same time, every single, I don't know, just corporation out there, they're trying to get that, bank out that nostalgia money right now.
what can we remake that
Mhm.
hasn't been remade already?
Street Sharks.
You know,
God.
Shrek, apparently.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's not a joke.
Oh. Yeah. But just seeing more
Please,
original
please make
content,
that
yeah.
Street Sharks remake. Please make that Gargoyles remake.
Dude, I would actually, yeah. Speaking of, it's just like being hypocritical. Like, I would watch a Gargoyles movie.
Fuck yeah, I would. Yeah, me too.
It's gonna be live action.
I'll still watch it.
Yeah, just imagine those like stone breaking off VFX and just like coming into life.
Oh, I'm coming into life right now.
Oh, Josh. Stop bringing off your stones.
Oh no.
Oh. Anyway, original stuff we've seen.
Yeah. And it also goes into like art too.
Love, Death, and Robots. That
Yeah.
counts?
Yeah, that counts. That totally counts.
There you go.
That's original too. I love like some of it, and then some of it's like kind of like remixes of other things
Yes.
and themes.
It's
But,
almost
like,
cheating saying that because it's almost like a scatter shot of creativity.
Mm-hmm. And then like I applaud all the
Something
effort over
shocking.
there. Like
Art.
that what they're doing. Like
Yeah.
Netflix is trying to create original content.
Mm.
Sometimes it might not come out great. Like Bird Box was just like, what did I watch?
I didn't watch that either.
I don't
Yeah.
know.
Do I have to start watching horror movies?
No, don't watch Bird Box. It's just people watch it for the memes,
But yeah, you do.
Okay.
but you should watch it.
I mean, I'm waiting for summer because I'm waiting for, did you watch Hereditary? It is a horror movie.
Oh, it's something that was on my to watch list. I forgot to let go.
And so like
Too.
that director is coming out with another movie called Midsummer.
Ooh.
Gonna make all you guys watch it with me.
Oh, yeah?
Okay.
Yeah.
Is it supposed to be scary too?
Yeah, and like
Good luck scaring me, filmmakers.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I heard like if you just watch the trailer, it's just there's nothing scary about the trailer. In fact, it's
Oh
like,
wait, you did show me.
yeah, in
and I
fact, it's
said
like
that.
bright, sunny, golden. Like that's the color palette throughout the whole trailer.
Mm-hmm.
So then I feel like that it gets me so intrigued, and it's like, what is it? Like, what makes this so scary?
Oh yeah,
But, you know.
like a really well-made trailer is super rare nowadays.
Mm.
Nowadays, trailers are just like mini movies that give away plots too.
I hate that. I fucking hate
Yeah,
that.
so that's why I was just like, it was a good trailer.
When all the best bits
Yeah.
of the end of the movie are in the trailer.
Yeah, and then when you
So
watch
I
that
watched
movie,
Hellboy.
yeah. The new one?
The new one. It sucked. It sucked major ass.
Oh no.
And some of the coolest shots and stuff were, of course, in the trailer. Which some of that stuff was from the very end of the movie. So stop fucking doing that.
I think they're just trying to entice people into like getting into the
To be
theaters.
fair, cool imagery of that movie was very sparse, so they had to take from those good scenes because there was 2 good scenes in that whole movie, and that's it. Or
Yes.
maybe three decent like cool scenes.
You know, it's
that's
weird
fucking
because
it.
like people are so pissed off about spoilers, but they choose to watch these trailers to get spoiled.
I'm just trying not to watch like trailers at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's hard to do when you go to the movies and they play all the trailers.
Trailers in front.
That's why I don't go to the movies no more.
Oh.
Movie experience has been taking a dip. Like, in our next episode that's coming out soon, we do talk about like movie theater etiquette. Like, so many people talking during theaters, using their phones, but also not to mention just like the quality of like the projector or something. Like, speaking of Hereditary, I was taken out of the movie for a little bit just because I was so mad that the projector or whatever was so bad because everything was getting lost into blackness, and I was like, this is not how the movie is supposed to look.
Oh, that's terrible.
Yeah.
Image quality. I mean, what else are you going to do as a theater except for like focus on that kind of stuff? Like, you have 2 jobs really. It's sound and image quality.
It's almost like doing a digital painting and printing it out on printer.
Exactly.
And you're just
And
like, oh god,
it's always terrible. Yeah.
Exactly.
I don't know how much they've improved it because they did do a bunch of renovations at the San Mateo, like Cinemark or whatever. But for a while, at least before the renovations, those projector screens were fucking dirty as shit and like bad, and you could see it. You could just see it on the image.
Ugh.
Yeah,
Well, that industry is kind of like dipping,
yeah.
and they're trying to combat it with what movie passes,
Yeah,
cinema
Movie Pass.
passes, and all that
Yeah.
stuff. I don't know if that's working.
I'm still going. I'll always go. I love the movies, but it hasn't been great. I'll tell you what.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of like, I mean, looping it back into art too. Like just all these remakes and all that stuff. Like I see fan art, I see a bunch of stuff. Like it's great to like feed into that culture, but what really drives me to like look at people's art is this original content.
Yeah.
And then seeing original content from creators who also do fan art too, but when they create their own characters, their own stories and stuff, it like really digs into that.
It's really
world.
cool when like individual creators and stuff like that make original content and then fan art is made of that.
Yeah, they generate new fan art.
Yeah. But yeah, it's really cool when you see, cause I'm following one of my like more recent artists that I become a fanboy of. Was oh no, I'm blanking on the name again. I'm doing the thing. I'm pulling to Josh. Dave Greco. Greco? Yeah.
Yeah.
And like now he's like I follow him on Instagram and he like made some like original character and then he keeps like on his stories like posting all like the fan art that people are doing of this character. I'm like, oh, that's really cool that he just like made a character and now they're making fan art of it. And just like,
Oh, Dave Greco. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's really cool.
he's really good.
Oh, speaking of fan art stuff, like people are creating original content and just hashtagging draw this in your style.
Oh, yeah.
That is like quick fan art stuff for just whatever you do. That's actually pretty cool. I've participated in a few of those. Those are really fun.
Yeah,
Yeah.
me too.
Yeah, that's cool. That's
Yeah.
a good idea.
It's kind of like forcing your clout into like
Love me.
yeah, it's like, hey,
Yeah.
I made this stuff. Draw this in your style now, and then
Yeah.
people participate because like most of the people who follow you are probably artists too.
Yeah.
And then it's just so cool to like. It's like us doing that, just sketching and then painting someone else's sketch.
Mhm.
It has that same mentality, that collaboration.
Produce your own clout.
Yeah. Your clout art.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a lot of that like ties back into the art community and why I love doing art. And just making all these new art friends after I became an artist is like so great.
Mm.
Not that my scientist friends and my engineering friends are terrible. They're awesome too. It's just like being an artist, being with other artists just amplifies it a lot more. So I'm always grateful for like just being in the art community in general. and participating in like a lot of like just artist activities. And that's why I run one of them, like Portrait Night, which we do every Thursday night, 6:30 to 9:30.
In the city?
In the city, San Francisco, downtown, under Syzygy SF. Yeah, we could post a link later.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. This is totally a good platform too.
Yeah, gotta plug it in.
To plug
If you
it in.
like staring at a face for 3 hours and painting it or drawing it or whatever, feel free to come by.
Yeah, that sounds sarcastic, but it's not, right?
It's actually really fun.
yeah.
Like especially for people who want to like improve on their portraitures.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of these days I'll come along.
Mimi's come
I
out
went,
before.
I went to one, and
Yeah.
then the upstairs started flooding.
Oh yeah, that was a crazy story. So we changed locations several times. Being in SF, we had like different leases ending and unpayable rents. So we recently, the most recent place we moved out of was Sketchpad Gallery, which was closed recently too. So on our last portrait night there was like 30 something people who showed up. It was crazy. And I was managing everyone. I had a terrible time because I didn't paint. I barely painted, and I was just trying to make sure everyone's okay. And then suddenly it was pouring rain, and then the hallway started leaking, just flooding. And then the water starts seeping into the gallery. I'm like, oh no. So I had to call like Chris and all of them to like, oh shoot, something's happening. Should we still keep going? So I'm like managing all this while everyone's having a great time painting portraits.
Yeah.
I'm like, it's almost over.
Yeah.
But it was like our last hurrah at Sketchpad, so yeah, just wanted to get that smoothly out of the way. And then finally we moved out to like another location. And yeah, it's been going pretty well.
We'll go.
Yeah.
I'll go in it.
It's
I just
10
have to-
minutes walk away from work.
Oh, nice.
I have
Close
no
by.
excuse.
Close by to Powell Station.
Okay.
But like you guys take Caltrains and whatever,
Yeah.
so yeah.
yeah.
But you guys probably share Uber back home
Yeah.
one of those nights. But yeah, I mean, figure drawing started up again at work, so I'm grateful for that.
Yeah, me
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
That's cool. It's like it's been so long since I done figure drawing until I started at glue. It's like, yeah, okay, cool. I forget how to do this, but I'll get back into it.
Yeah, and I want to keep that going, like at work. So that is what makes work fun. Work fun is like-minded people who want to do art and just improve. And yeah, just being able to like have little sketch lunches and
Yeah, we did that on Friday, right?
yeah,
That was fun.
yeah.
Where you created a brush for me that I was like,
Oh yeah.
I don't know if we mentioned that.
Not yet.
Well, I got a new nickname
Franklin-
being the Brushsmith.
Yeah, Franklin is a brushsmith. He is the brush making savant.
I like breaking down things,
Yeah.
figuring it out, and recreating.
Meanwhile, I tried to like get that. It's like a Photoshop brush that I like that, and I think the reason we talked about it is because I mentioned it on the podcast already.
it. Yes.
It's like a Photoshop brush that I like that I couldn't make to work in Procreate. I tried and got frustrated and gave up. Franklin's just like, I'm gonna figure this out.
I'll make it, and I made it during
I
lunch.
did. Yeah. So
Yeah, I
that's
did
just-
a lot
yeah.
of that. Like I remade like some brushes for Tonko House brushes from the Dam Keeper onto because I use that in Photoshop too. And nowadays I only paint in Procreate on my off time, and Photoshop is only done during work hours. And on personal time, I'm always on Procreate. It's taken over my Photoshop, and I'm not looking back anymore.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's super weird because like when I'm working, like there's to undo on Procreate, you just do 2-finger tap. To redo is 3-finger tap. And when I'm working on Photoshop back at work on the Cintiq, I'm like trying to undo and tapping on my Cintiq screen, and it just doesn't work. I'm just like, wait a second, this is not Procreate.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's gotten to that point now. I forced myself to learn Procreate and like only use Procreate for 2 months, and I love it. Shout out to Procreate.
Yeah. So anything else you want to plug? You've already plugged Portrait Nights.
Well, in terms of plugging, at Portrait Night, I plugged Cadmium Dread.
You did.
And
Yeah.
we played your guys' podcast on it.
We are so honored.
Yeah.
It was fun because
very
like
sweet of
the
you.
model was like an artist too, and he was modeling for us, and he's like, I relate to everything, and that's how
Yeah,
I
hearing
was,
about
yeah.
that, I was just like, oh yes, we're doing it. It's working.
Oh,
Yeah, I think what the best thing about your podcast is like, we're talking about this at work too. It's like how you interview and also talk about subjects that are more relatable for artists or up and coming artists who are striving to get into the industry, or just being an artist in general, like starting off, and being able to like hear about struggles and everyone's backgrounds right away without that person being like the top 1% of like in the art world already. Like I love listening to like really accomplished artists too, but then there's a market for podcasts where there's that the rest of us 99% folks we're like, hey, everyone's sharing the same struggle, everyone's sharing the same problems, same crisis, just being an artist and
crisis of identity and
yeah
yeah,
it's just anxiety, all that stuff. Everyone has it, and you guys are just being able to like broadcast it out there and share with everybody. I think it's great.
Yeah.
Thank you for plugging our own podcast on our podcast.
So everybody listening, please listen to Cadmium Dread.
Tell your friends if you think they'd be interested.
That too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys for having me, though.
Yeah, thanks for dropping a lot of
Franklin.
art knowledge and clout.
Yeah. I have no clout, by the way, just to get that straight.
But follow both of Franklin's Instagrams.
Yeah,
we'll link it.
Link everything.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, guys.
We're not done yet.
We're not. What?
Yeah, follow.
No. Yeah, we gotta.
Any questions, comments, email.
Yes.
cadmiumdread@gmail.com.
Come to Portrait Night and listen to Cadmium Dread too.
That's true. Look up Cadmium Dread on Facebook and Instagram to stay updated.
And coming to YouTube soon.
Yes.
Oh my goodness! Now we have to do
it.
Boom.
Thank you. See, I've been trying to get this. It'll be easy. We just.
It'll be Josh's. Yeah. Josh will take care of it.
I'll take care of it.
Okay, cool. Yeah, coming to YouTube
Coming
soon.
to YouTube soon. Maybe already there by the time this comes out.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Ooh, all right.
And then, you can leave all your mean YouTube comments there.
No.
Please leave your nice Facebook comments on Facebook. Just kidding, that's not a thing either. Just let us know what you think and what you'd like to hear and stuff like that.
Yeah, thank you for listening. And thank you, Franklin, for being on the show. And yeah.
And just to all our listeners, can you have a nice day? Can you do that for me?
Please. Bye.